Is my work worth more than a donut? Alright guys, how's it going? I hope you're doing very well. It is the 13th of May 2021 and this article dropped a few days ago. Now I'm a little bit apprehensive of covering this article, and the reason being is I've known James for a long time. He's been very good to me. He's one of the top dogs in his field when it comes to 3D scanning. He's been there, he's got the t-shirt, and he's worked on huge productions, and he knows what he's talking about. And he's kind of sticking his head above the water by publishing this article, but it's a conversation that needs to be had, especially in the 3D industry. And I've got a funny feeling a lot of artists will probably agree with him. Now there might be a few contentious people, but overall I think most people will actually agree that the industry is driving the price down way below what it should be. And this article kind of breaks down why this is wrong. I don't know if this is James's Jerry Maguire moment where he's kind of stealing the goldfish out of the tank, shouting, "Is everybody coming with me?" But he does make some very valid points. So I'll read the article and I'll kind of pick up on things that I can agree with or disagree with. Is my work worth more than a donut? Now I think there's a little bit of serendipity playing here, and he's kind of pricing the things to the donut, and I think it's kind of pushing the blender aspect just a little bit. Just the reason he picked a donut is just too coincidental. But marketplace pricing strategy, undercutting and knowing your worth. And this is one thing I have a huge conversation with, especially new artists. You always undervalue yourself. You need to start putting your prices up. You need to know your worth. And James kind of goes on about it here. Introduction. Bear with me guys, I'm going on a bit of a rant here, but I'm very passionate about this, and he's very passionate. It kind of pisses him off, to be honest. I've been in the industry for years and I love it. I genuinely look forward to coming into the office every day. To be fair, their offices are damn cool, and I work way more hours than I probably should. Yeah, if you speak to his wife, he probably does a lot of hours. Because I enjoy it so much. In short, I'm a massive geek. Yep, he is a massive geek. Now he's got a couple of years on me and a couple of more grey hairs, but he's a big kid at the end of the day. But there's one thing about the industry that really annoys me. The persistent and chronic undervaluing of talented artists working on digital marketplaces. How have we got to a point where the work of a highly skilled technical artist is valued at less than the price of a cup of coffee or a donut? Now, I notice this a lot in the Blender community. You really do undervalue the price of your add-ons. Now I know it's open source and I know you might get a quick sale, and I know the Blender markets are slightly different, to be honest. If you go over £10 for an add-on, people kind of take a step back. Don't get me wrong, donuts are delicious, especially those little rings you can buy at the British seasides. Now I'm not a fan of them, I prefer the ones you get Dunkin' Donuts, but hey, each to their own. But at the end of the day, they're a bunch of pretty cheap ingredients fried in oil and coated in delicious sugar. Think about it, how many hours of learning have you done to reach the level that you're at? 5,000? 10,000? How much investment, whether it's college fees, tutorials, software or hardware purchases? I'd hazard a guess that the answer is a lot. Yes, it is a lot. Even if you don't go to college, the time you buy tutorials, the time you buy software, okay, maybe not for Blender, but every one of these elements pretty much adds up. So why is your work priced at, for example, £2.50 on a digital marketplace? Because there's little to no regulation or moderation on a lot of these marketplaces. So it's a fight to the bottom, to be honest. The pricing is all out of whack and always is undervalued, way too low. I can't stress enough how damaging this is for our industry. Now, this is a point that a lot of people might not agree with, but I really do agree with it. And I don't know if it's maybe a generation thing, or I don't know if it's maybe just because you've seen the industry grow up. You kind of know where your value is a little bit more compared to people coming into the industry, because a new beginner coming in, they see a plugin at £2.50 and they think that's what I'll sell mine at, and it starts to drive the prices down. But anyway, let's move on. I'm not sure why some artists undervalue their work so much. Maybe it's a lack of confidence, maybe it's a lack of commercial awareness, but whatever the root cause is, it sets a dangerous precedent. Other artists see how cheap prices are and they think they need to follow suit. Before you know it, we have a race to the bottom where no one is a winner. Pretty much what I echoed there. The price of the product should reflect the skill that it takes to create it. Fair enough, there is no tangible materials used to create a digital product, but it's not something that just anyone can do. And this is a really good point, and I think a lot of people lose track of this. This is a very fine art. Now, people just think you push polygons around, or people just think you make images. It takes time and it takes expertise to become a very good artist. It takes ability and experience and deserves fair compensation. So this is kind of James's whole point. The compensation or the risk to reward is not fair. What is my 3D asset worth? Now, when it comes to pricing, James is probably one of the best people to listen to in the industry. Your pricing strategy is an important stage of the whole selling process. Get it right and you'll be maximising sales and profits and be fairly rewarded for your skill and time. Get it wrong and you risk selling very few assets and making very little profit. Why should you trust what I'm saying? I've been selling digital assets for a long time, and it has been 13 years plus. And it kind of breaks down what the product is actually worth. Now, it's probably worth taking a read of this yourself. I don't want to misconstrue anything, but it kind of boils down to how much would you pay? Reduce 25% off of that, and that kind of gives you your baseline. They sell personal and commercial licenses, so there is a very nice breakdown of how this actually works. But these are the points that I wanted to pick up on. Undercutting and price wars. Now, this is what's happening in the industry at the moment. It is very common these days to see certain sites selling highly valuable digital assets for next to nothing. Now, this is huge, sometimes in the region of a few dollars. Now, I've seen mega packs that personally I would have paid £200 for, because there's no way I could model that. A day's wages, it's easier just to buy at the time that I save, and this has become a big market, to be honest. The thinking behind this is twofold. One, if you make it cheap, it will sell lots. Two, if you make it cheaper than my competitors' customers will buy the model rather than theirs. Both of these assumptions are flawed. Let's address the first point. Sell cheap, sell lots. Now, if you think you'll drop your price down and you'll sell lots, perhaps, but again, I can't stress to you how dangerous this is to our industry. If buyers start to believe that the 3D models and other higher quality digital assets are next to worthless, this devalues the entire industry. So you set your price low, people automatically assume this, and this is what's kind of happening in the Blender community. People are putting their prices way too low, and everybody thinks that's the market price, when in reality it's actually higher. Please do not fall foul of this trap. Your work is worth more than other sites would let you believe. Know your worth. You deserve to be paid fairly for the skills at your time. So again, James is arguing you're worth more than what you actually think, or you're worth more than what the market is dictating. Let's take a real life example based on a product we have personally experimented with our site. This product was initially valued at 25 as an experiment. We reduced the price to 5 for a period of 2 months. During those 2 months we sold 155 of those models, generating an income of £775. After the product was returned to the normal price of 25, in 2 months we sold only 53. So the sales units dropped significantly, but we still made 1,325. So even though he dropped his price, he never actually made as much money, nearly double the income. The reason being the model was worth £25 and people are willing to pay that much for it. It's about finding the sweet spot and understanding what your asset is worth. If I undercut my rivals, people will buy my model instead of theirs, won't they? Most customers who visit marketplaces will do with a specific item in mind. They don't just browse and think, I'm going to buy that today. They generally look for the product. If your asset doesn't fit the bill, it doesn't matter how cheap it is. So if it doesn't fit their brief, they won't buy the product. They will still not choose it over a product that has exactly what they want. If your assets are very similar to another seller, consider price matching rather than undercutting. Now this is great advice, to be honest. Don't undercut, price match, go to the same price. So what you end up doing is you end up creating a seller wall, and this means the price will actually drive up. Now it could fall, but if you're price matching, the price will generally move up and up. Undercutting can be very quickly become a race to the bottom. You drop your price, they drop their price, and that is pretty much the advice. I'll leave a link in the description down below. It's a very good article. It is a conversation that needs to be had in the 3D industry, because the only real winners here are the people running the marketplace. They're the one taking a small cut off it. Now, there is some marketplaces out there. Blender Market, very good. They give loads of donations to Blender and they're pretty fair on their prices. They're probably one of the better markets out there, to be honest. I don't want to start naming names, let's put it that way. But yeah, if you're selling products, Blender Market's good. Gumroad's good if you want to kind of cut out that middleman. It's completely up to you. I can't tell you what market to use, but hey, at the end of the day, what I do recommend you do is start thinking about knowing your worth. Do me a favour guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, follow me on Twitter, you know what to do. Take care.